One of these three men has often been referred to as the greatest racing car driver in the world. What is your name, please?
My name is Sterling Moss.
What is your name, please?
My name is Sterling Moss.
What is your name, please?
My name is Sterling Moss.
Two of these people are imposters. Only one is the real Sterling Moss, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now, here is our host, Bud Collyer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Now may I introduce our panel. What is your name, please?
My name is Betty White.
My name is Martin Gable.
My name is Kitty Carlisle.
My name is Hy Gardner.
Martin, very nice to welcome you to our panel tonight.
Delighted to be here, Bud.
And we're just as proud as you are, I'm sure, that your play, Once More with Feeling, is doing so well on Broadway.
I'm very pleased, and I'm particularly pleased that you were thoughtful enough to mention it.
Oh, not at all. All right, and welcome back to you, Betty.
Thank you.
Nice Christmas?
Nice to be here and a lovely Christmas.
Good. Now, these three gentlemen, as you heard, all claim to be Sterling Moss. Only one, of course, is the real Sterling Moss. The others have merely assumed that identity. Now, panel, will you please follow along with your copies of this first affidavit as I read it? I, Sterling Moss, am an automobile racing driver. Both my father, who was a dentist, and my mother were top amateur racing drivers in England. I started driving racing cars in competition at the age of 17 and have been at it ever since. I have driven for Mercedes-Benz and also for the great Maserati racing team of Italy. I have won more World's Championship races than any other racing driver in the world. Signed, Sterling Moss. All right, panel, you heard these three gentlemen all claim to be Sterling Moss, champion racing car driver. Only the real Sterling Moss, of course, is required to answer your questions truthfully. We'll begin tonight's questioning with Martin Gable. Martin?
Thank you, Bud. Number 3. Bud said that your father was a dentist and became a racing driver. His clutch must have slipped. May I ask you, number 3, who was Sir Malcolm Campbell?
Well, he was a famous British racing driver before the war.
I see, a racing driver. Number 2, who was the Marquis de Portago?
Marquis de Portago was a Spanish nobleman who was killed, unfortunately, in the Miglia.
Number 1, what is a pit stop?
A pit stop is when a car comes in to take on tires or fuel or change of drivers.
How long does it take to change a tire during a pit stop?
The record is 60 gallons of fuel, 4 tires in 32 seconds.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, what is the fastest you've ever gone in a car?
265 miles an hour in an MG.
Number 2, have you ever gone 265 miles an hour?
Yes, I have, but not in an MG.
In a what?
Maserati?
Number 3, what is Monza?
Monza's a racetrack in Italy. It's just outside Milan.
Number 1, what are the outfitters in England where you can buy, where you can rent tails and so forth? In London.
Well, there's Moss Bros.
Number 2, what is the fastest you've ever taken a curve?
Around 80 miles an hour.
And he does mean around. Hy Gardner.
Number 2, in what famous race did Ruby Rosa race about 2 years ago?
I don't know.
Number 3, is it true that the only life insurance that a racing car driver can get must be bought on a 24-hour basis from Lloyd's of London?
No.
Number 3, again, do you get any particular premium on your life insurance as a professional or amateur racer?
Oh, yes, we have to pay a very high rate.
What is the high rate?
Well, it's about 50 times the normal rate.
Uh-huh. Number 1, who was a fellow named Ken Purdy?
Ken Purdy is an American writer.
Uh-huh. Number 2...
Betty White, please.
Thank you, Bud. If your father was a dentist and a racing driver, did he insist on filling his own tank? What is, number 2, what is a tachometer?
A tachometer?
Mm-hmm.
Tachometer is an instrument used in racing, on the racing cars, on the sports car racing.
What does it show?
It shows the actual curvature of the track.
Number 3, and a Mercedes 300 SL, what does the SL stand for?
I don't know.
Number 1, what does the SL stand for?
I don't know.
Number 2, what does the SL stand for?
I don't know.
That makes 4 of us. That's swell.
On that note, I'm afraid we'll have to say that it's time to vote. And without consultation, as is our custom, will you please mark your ballots and select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Team of challengers, of course, will receive $250 for every incorrect vote. All right, panel, have you marked your ballots? Yeah, Betty, for whom did you vote?
Well, I don't know. I was all set to vote for number 2, but he didn't sound like he knew a lot more about a tachometer than I did. I'm going to go for number 1. With number 1.
Kind of
afraid you're the first time.
Because if you go for him, you wind up going with him. So... Martin, your vote, please.
I voted for number 3, Bud. There was something about his whole manner in answering that led me to believe that he was the real Sterling Moss.
Okay. Kitty, your selection?
Well, I could go for number 2, but I went with number 1.
Nothing questionable.
I think you misled me with Kent Purdy. I don't know who Kent Purdy is, but I think you misled me.
All right. Hi, Gardner.
Well, Ken Purdy is a racing car writer on a number of magazines, and I voted for number 2 because I don't see how number 1, Racing in England, would know about Ken Purdy.
All right, fair enough. There we have it. Our votes and our reasons for them, and we'll see whether we're right or wrong.
Kent Purdy.
As we discover right now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real champion racing car driver. So, will the real Sterling Moss please stand up? Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, he didn't mislead me.
No, he didn't. Number 2, would you tell us who you really are and what you actually do, please?
My name is Tony Brazil. I'm a sales representative in New Jersey.
And number 3, what about you, sir?
My name is Alan Greaves. I'm advertising director for British Overseas Airways Corporation.
Thank you. Checking out the score, we find that there were 2 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total of $500 from Marlboro. Gentlemen, hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed having you with us. Safe driving. Good night. And on your way out, you will find a carton of Marlboro cigarettes for each of you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
One of these men is the world's champion racing car driver. What is your name, please?
My name is Jack Brabham.
My name is Jack Brabham.
My name is Jack Brabham.
Only one of these people is the real Jack Brabham. The other 2 are imposters. And we'll try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Kitty Carlisle, Donna Meachy, and Polly Bergen. On to Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Dristan, decongestant cough medicine. Stops coughing due to colds or bronchial irritation. Dristan, decongestant cough medicine. Panel, will you please open your envelopes and take out your affidavit cards and follow along as I read from this first affidavit. I, Jack Brabham, have been driving in international racing competition only since 1955. During that time, I have won the Grand Prix races of England, France, Holland, Monte Carlo, Portugal, and Belgium. For the past 2 years, I have held the title World Champion Racing Car Driver. Signed, Jack Brabham. heard, as did I when I read it. These three stalwart and capable-looking gentlemen, all claiming to be Jack Brabham, world's champion racing car driver. And let's begin this first round of questioning tonight with Tom Poston. Tom?
Thank you, Bud. I'll ask number one. Brabham, is that correct, sir?
Brabham.
Brabham. Can you tell me where Linwood King races his car?
Linwood King? No, I'm afraid not.
You don't know. Number two, could you tell me what is the nature of the fuel used for competition racing?
In this case, it's aviation fuel, 130 octane.
130 octane. Number three, what is, previous to your start in the racing field, what was the nature of most fuel used for racing the high-powered cars?
It was mainly alcohol fuels.
Thank you. Number one, what does a shaved head do for an engine in a racing car?
It increases the flow of the gases through and increases the performance.
Thank you. Number two, could you tell me the nature of the tread on the tires of a racing car, high-speed racer?
Well, it's a tread configuration that increases your traction on a corner.
Thank you.
Kitty.
Number one, where is Monza?
In Italy.
In Italy?
Yes.
Number two, there is a Monza type race being held in France. Where is it held?
Not in France that I know of.
Do you know number three?
You're not mixing that up with Le Mans, are you?
No. Number one, do you know?
No, I don't think it's in France.
Number two, can you tell me, do you drive alone when you race?
Always.
Always. Number three, where is your assistant, the man that helps you in case anything goes wrong?
A mechanic, you mean? He's
Yeah.
in the pit.
Mhm.
In the pit area.
In the pit area. Number one, where is Targa Florio?
That's also in Italy.
In Italy. Number two, when you have an accident, which heaven forfend,
Yes.
Who comes to your assistant first?
Usually the person who's closest to the accident.
Okay, Don Amici, please.
Number three, why do European drivers not drive at Monza any longer?
European drivers or British drivers?
European.
Well, European drivers do drive at Monza.
Number one?
Oh, yes. Every year.
Number two, how many points per race in the championship standings?
For first place, 8 points.
And for number three, how many per second?
6.
Number one, what is the name of the great Argentinian racer, now retired?
Fangio, Jean-Manuel Fangio.
Number two, would you describe the course in Florida to me?
Sebring.
Yes.
Yes, it's a 5.2-mile circuit.
On what? What is it on?
It's on an abandoned airstrip and public roads.
Number three, what is the name of the Spaniard that was killed in Italy about 2 years ago?
Deportigo.
Number one, what is the difference between 1 liter and 2 liter motors?
It's a question of size of the cylinders.
What, in speed, how much?
No, in the region of 8 to 10 miles an hour,
Also in the
possibly.
region of Polly Bergen. Polly?
Well, I don't know whether they're giving right answers or not, but I never saw three men answer so many questions.
Matter of fact, I never heard one man ask so many.
No, I can only say either all three of them are drivers, which is possible because they cheat terribly on the show. Or they have three of the brainiest fellows I ever saw. They're coming up with answers like this. Now, if I only knew whether they were right or not, I'd be okay. Number three, when you're driving a racing car in Europe, which side of the car is the steerer on?
The center. The center of the motor car. They are single-seat racing cars.
What year did Gordon Ord hold the world's champion racing driving thingamajiggy? 1955 and 1956?
Well, it must have been before I was born. I've never heard of him.
Number one, could you tell me?
That's all we
It
have
wasn't
time for.
1955 or 6.
I beg your pardon?
Certainly wasn't 55 or 6.
All we have time for, I'm sorry to say. Of course, you didn't make it clear whether you meant just the regular thingamajiggy or the grand thingamajiggy, Polly. However, it's time for you to mark your ballots now. Will you do so, please? And without consultation, vote for number one, number two, or number three. And, of course, the team of challengers will receive the usual $250 for every incorrect vote. All set? Ballots all marked? All the way down the line? Tom, for whom did you vote?
Well, in view of the fact that they answered so beautifully, this should be the way you vote. Right? but I did vote for number 3. I found some discrepancies in the answers of 1 and 2. I always hate to say that, because then if you're wrong, you're crazy, right? Okay, I just think it's number 3. I think it's number 3.
Kitty.
I voted for number 1. I think they're all Jack Brabham. But I think if they're not, one of them is, and the other 2 are his helpers, the fellow that got there the quickest. I voted for number 1.
Thank you. And Don?
Oh, this is a pure guess on my part. I voted for number 2, and I'm beginning to think I'm incorrect in voting this way because it seems to me that in the championships, it can't add up if 8 is the number of points given for first place. I think it's too large, but I voted for number 2 anyway.
Polly.
Well, I voted the way Tom did.
Make a stand. Make a stand. Pick 1, 2,
But
or 3.
I knew you'd be nasty about it, so I voted for number 1. I know absolutely nothing about racing car driving, but I must say that they're phenomenal. Right or wrong, they're just phenomenal.
All right, with that tribute in mind, we've had all our votes in, and we will see whether that tribute has paid its own self off by making the panel right or wrong. And you check yourselves if you're playing at home with us, which we hope you are, as we discover which one of these gentlemen is the real world's champion racing driver. Will the real Jack Brabham please stand up? Thank you, sir. I must add my 2 cents worth to what Polly has said, too. I think this is
so many answers.
I don't know, this is the finest, one of the finest challenging panels we've ever had.
It's all done by mirrors, isn't it?
All done by mirrors. I don't believe it. Yeah, really sensational. Number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
Yes, my name is Jerry Seymour, and at the moment I don't do anything because I'm an out-of-work radio commentator, oblique stroke, master of ceremonies, oblique stroke, in anything you like, really, but they don't like my accent over here.
And number 2, your real name and what you do, please.
My name is Julian Apley, and I'm a writer at the Darcy Advertising Company.
Well, gentlemen, in checking the score, we find there were 1, 2, 3 incorrect votes at $250 each for a grand total of $750 from Dristan. And, of course, the gift package of all the fine products from the makers of Dristan. And we thank you so much for adding to our fun tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Good night and good luck to you.
One of these men is the world's champion racing driver. What is your name, please?
My name is Phil Hill. My name is Phil Hill.
My name is Phil Hill.
Only one of these men is the real Phil Hill. The other 2 are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Ralph Bellamy, Lorraine Day, Johnny Carson, and Betty White on To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collyer.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Salem Cigarettes. Lorraine, may I take just a moment to welcome you to our show?
Well, thank you very much, Bud. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure and our privilege, believe me. Hope you have a good time.
I hope so, too.
Now, panel, will you open up your envelopes and take out your affidavit cards for the first time tonight? And follow along as I read. I, Phil Hill, am a professional race car driver. I drove my first race in 1948 in my own MG. For the past 3 years, I have been driving the Grand Prix circuit for the famous Italian Ferrari factory team. This year, in a series of 7 races, I became the world's champion race driver. I am the first American to ever hold the title. Signed, Phil Hill. All right, gentlemen, are you all set and comfortable? Very well. As you heard, as I did, panel, these 3 gentlemen are all claiming to be Phil Hill, world's champion race driver, and we begin this first round of questioning with Ralph Bellamy. Ralph?
Number 1, who did you win the title from? There is no defender.
No defender. Well, who had it last year at Indianapolis?
This year, Jack Brabham had it.
Number 2, what is the course? How far is the race? How long is the race?
Well, there are a series of 8 races, and they average between 400 to 500 kilometers.
Well, the last one, the last race at Indianapolis, the final, how long is it?
Well, the last one wasn't at Indianapolis.
Oh, all right. Number 3, what's the purse?
Well, the purse varies from race to race.
How much did you win?
I won $5,000.
Number 1,
Lorraine.
Number 1, what is Monza?
It's a place.
Number 2, what is Monza?
It's a place in Italy.
Number 3, what is Monza?
Monza is the place in Italy.
What do they do there, number 3?
Well, they have a racetrack there.
Number 1, how many are on your team? How many does it take to put your car on the speedway?
You mean the mechanics and the fact?
Yes.
About 30 or 40 people.
About 30?
Between 30, depending on the race.
Number 2, how many does it take you?
30 to 40 engineers.
30 to 40. Number 3, does it take you 30 to 40?
Generally, that's about what they're...
Johnny.
I thought Monza was a sandwich.
Number 2. Can you tell me the name of one driver who competes in Formula?
In which formula?
Formula cars. Who drives formulas?
Well, there are Formula 1 and Formula 2 and others.
All right. Number 1, can you name me one driver who drives Formula 1?
Formula 1, Bugatti.
All right. Number 3, how many liter displacement does a Porsche have? 1600 Porsche.
1.6 liters.
Number 2?
1.5.
Number 1?
1.6 liters.
All right.
Betty.
I don't want to ask them anything. I want to ask you a few things. Where did you learn all that? Number 2, how many races in this Grand Prix circuit?
Usually 7, perhaps 8 sometimes.
You mentioned 8 before, and I noticed on our affidavit here it says 7. How many of the 7 races, number 1, how many of the 7 races did you win to win the title?
I won 2 of them.
Number 3, how many of the 7 races did you win?
I won 2.
Number 2, where does the Grand Prix start and finish?
Start and finish?
The Grand Prix circuit.
It usually starts in Buenos Aires in January and finishes up in June.
Well, that's all the time we have. We'll have to grind over to the starting pits there and get our engineers out and start marking our ballots, if you don't mind, panel. So kindly do that right now, without further questions and without any further consultation. Voting as you do so for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Our team of challengers will, as is our custom, receive $250 for every incorrect vote. Ralph, all set? For whom did you vote?
Number 1, and I have to say I touted myself on and off all 3 of them, but perhaps number 1 looks more like a race driver, or a race driver should look like.
Lorraine.
Well, I voted for number 2 because I don't think he looks like what a race driver should look like.
We're going the other way.
One of
All
us
right.
should be right.
Johnny, which one did you select?
I voted for number 2. I should know, but I don't. I used to drive a little. I should know, but I think it's number 2.
Betty?
Well, I voted for number 1. I think all the answers, believe me, knowing as little as I do on this subject, they all confuse me completely. But number 1 looks so miserable. He looks like he'd much rather be driving than being here.
All right, we have Ralph and Betty then at number 1, and Johnny and Lorraine number 2. No votes for number 3. Let's see how it comes out as we learn right now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real race car driver and a champion at that. So will the real Phil Hill please stand up? Mr. Hill, as the saying goes, you really skunked him that time. Incidentally, in addition to the many honors that Phil Hill has won this year, last Friday he was awarded the Martini and Rossi Trophy as Motor Sportsman of the Year for 1961. We're very proud to have him. Congratulations to you, sir. Let's find out about these other two intrepid drivers. Number one, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
Yes, my name is Hannah Wexler. I'm an account executive for public relations firm of Lobson and Company.
And number two, equally knowledgeable. What do you do and what is your real name?
My name is Jack Morris. I'm New York District Advertising Sales Manager for Purchasing Magazine.
Well, you did well. You really fooled the panel. That hasn't happened in a long time, believe me. And it's easy to count the wrong votes this time because there were exactly four at $250 each for a total of $1,000 from Salem Cigarettes. Not a bad night's pleasure, I think you'll admit. And a carton of Salem's for each of you. Thank you, gentlemen, very much, and many years of very safe and winning driving to you, sir. Good night and God bless. We'll have another team of challengers to fool our panel in just a moment. Now, panel, may I present our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Mickey Thompson.
My name is Mickey Thompson.
My name is Mickey Thompson.
Follow along again, if you will, please, panel, to the contents of this affidavit with your copies. I, Mickey Thompson, am a speed car driver. During my career, I have set some 54 world's automobile speed records, more than any other man in the history of the sport. In 1959, I built a car which I called Challenger 1. It has 4 engines totaling 3,000 horsepower and will go 210 miles an hour in low gear. In this car, I went faster than man has ever traveled in an automobile. In 1960, on the Bonneville Salt Flats, Challenger 1 hit a speed of 406 miles per hour. Signed, Mickey Thompson. Now we have 3 gentlemen, panel, each one claiming to be Mickey Thompson, speed car driver. And we'll start this with our own speedster, Dina Merrill.
Mr. Thompson, number 3. Why do you have so many engines in that car?
Well, it takes that many engines to develop the horsepower we need.
But how can they all fit into one small car?
Well, Pontiac engines aren't very large.
Pontiac?
Pontiac
The kind
engines.
you use?
Yes.
Number 2, how many gears do you have? I mean, how many?
3 forward gears and 1 reverse.
Just the 3? The 3 normal?
Gears.
And how fast do you accelerate it in the low gear before you shift?
A little over 200 miles an hour.
Before you shift into second.
That's right.
Number 3, what company built your car? I mean, number 1, excuse me. What company built your car?
I built the car myself.
You did?
Tom Poston.
Thank you. Number 1, what is compression ratio?
The ratio of the space within the cylinder chamber to the amount of power that comes there. For example, in this case, we have 430 cubic inches per engine, 4 engines, a total of 1720 cubic engines for the Challenger.
Marvelous. Number 2, do you happen to know who Bill Loper was?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Number 3, do you know who Walt Sebo was?
No, sir, I'm sorry.
Racing car driver. Number 3, what was Campbell's car's name? Do you remember?
The Bluebird.
And, thank you.
Dorothy.
Number 3, have you ever raced in Europe?
No, I haven't.
Do you know what the Mille Miglia is?
Yes, I do.
Where is that held?
In Italy.
Where is the race, what time of the year is the race at Le Mans held?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Number 2, do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know exactly when. I think it's around June sometime.
Number 1, have you ever raced abroad?
No.
Number 3, has the Pontiac firm employed you?
Have I misunderstood the question?
I don't think so. I've misunderstood the audience. I don't know what they're laughing at. Are you paid?
Johnny will straighten you out.
Are you paid by the Pontiac people?
The only thing I do for the Pontiac people is I drive the Mobile gas economy run for Pontiac.
Now we come to the member of our panel who has raced abroad, Johnny Carson.
And she lost.
I believe it.
No, number 2, who won the race at Le Mans?
Last year?
Yes.
Phil Hill and Jean Dubienne.
Number 1, can you give me a definition of a cam? And the function of a cam. C-A-M.
Of a cam?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's in reference to the camshaft.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have.
I didn't hear that last answer. In reference to the what?
In reference to the camshaft, he said. So we got from cam to camshaft. It's now time to take your camshafts and write an answer on your ballot, if you will, please. Just mark those ballots quickly and clearly, without consultation. Vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All set? Everybody marked?
Thank you. I finally got it.
Johnny, you all set? Mark?
Yeah.
Well, give it a mark so we can call out everybody. Nina, you set?
Yeah.
All right. Tom, which one?
I voted for number 3. I must say, it seems like the show went awfully fast tonight. Here we are on the 3rd one, and it's been fun tonight.
Dorothy.
Thank you, Tom. I take that as a compliment. I voted for number 2 because he looks more like other racing drivers I have known, and he knew where a couple of places were. All right?
Fair enough. Sure. Johnny.
Well, I only got a chance to ask one nutty question, so I decided I voted for number 3.
And Dina?
Well, I voted for number 2, Bud. He's got a kind of a look in his eye that has something to do with daredevil. I don't know.
Look what you're doing to Johnny there.
Nobody asked him if he ever raced broads.
The votes are in. All camshafts are where they ought to be, and let's find out now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real speed car driver. So will the real Mickey Thompson please stand up? Thank you, sir. Looks like our 3 gentlemen, Tom and Johnny, scored winners on that one. They both voted for him. Let's find out about the other 2 now. Number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
My name is Gordon Hitchens. I'm a student at Columbia University.
Good for you, sir. And number 2, your real name and what do you do, sir?
My name is Alan Lance, and I work at Pierre Andre's Beauty Salon. I'm a hairstylist.
That's our daredevil.
Well, you never know what a camshaft will do you?
I think that's known as pulling a switch on us.
What do you say, darling?
That's known as pulling a switch on the girl.
Oh, that's as bad as the bangs one in the time before. Well, gentlemen, we had a lot of fun. We hope you did. In checking the score, we find it's 50-50. It's an interesting score tonight. All wrong the first round, all right the next, and then 50-50. That means, of course, 2 incorrect at $250 each. From Salem's, $500 total for you, gentlemen, and I hope that is made up for not only by the fun that you gave us, but the fun that you had, too. Thanks for being with us, and pick up a carton of Salem's on your way out, if you will. Good night. That's it. Decongestant tablets.
And now, let's have our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Jim Clark. My name is Jim Clark.
My name is Jim Clark.
Panel, please listen as I read. I, Jim Clark, am a sheep farmer. I'm better known, however, as an automobile racing driver. In this year's first 8 Grand Prix races, I placed first in 5, second in 1, and third in another. With 2 races still to be run, I have already clinched the championship. I am the youngest man in history to become a Grand Prix world champion driver. Signed, Jim Clark. Well, panel, these 3 gentlemen all claim to be Jim Clark, 1963 Grand Prix champion. Let's start the cross-examination with Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you, Orson. Number 2, where do you sheep farm?
Berwickshire,
Where's that?
Scotland.
Ah, thank you. Number 3, can you tell me the name of the famous French race that goes on for quite a long time?
Le Mans.
Number 1, do you know about a race called Monza?
I do.
Where is it run?
In Italy.
Thank you. Number 3, what is the Targa... number 2, what is the Targa Florio?
Italian race, Sicily.
Thank you. Number 3, where do you sheep farm?
In Barrettshire.
Also?
Yeah.
How many sheep do you have?
About 2,000.
Oh, how marvelous. Number 1...
That's a lot of sheep. Tom Poston.
Number 3, I love you. You're jolly and cheerful, and that's nice. Number 3, what is a Kia bird, and how does it relate to sheep herding and so forth?
Sorry, I didn't get...
K-E-A, Kia bird, Kia bird.
I don't know.
Do you know number 1?
No, I don't.
Number 2?
New to me.
New to you. It's an Australian bird. Now do you know how it relates to sheep, number 3?
No.
No? Okay. Number 1, who is Foyt?
A.J. Foyt, driver.
What happened to him yesterday or today? You know?
I don't know.
Number 2? Do you know?
I believe he was suspended.
Thank you.
And we go to Peggy Cass.
Number 2, will you please finish this line for me? Scots were hay.
Scots were hay.
You don't know the end of it? Number 3, do you?
Yes.
Would you say it to me, please?
Scots were hay where Wallace bled.
Number 1, could you please tell me what that thing is that they throw at the Braemar games?
The caber.
Oh, I thought that was it. Number 2, where's the Firth of Forth?
Northern Scotland.
Thank you. Number 3, what's a sparn?
What he's
Sparn.
wearing? He's wearing it with his kilt.
Yes, thank you. Number 1, where's the Mille Miglia run? Mille Miglia.
The Mille Miglia is it also run in Italy?
Thank you. Number 2,
Stole my heart away.
And we go to Gene Rayburn.
Well, whichever one is the real one, having won all these races, is hot as a pistol. That's P-I-S-T-O-L, pistol. Number 2, do you ever have to dip your sheep?
Aye.
You do?
Aye.
Why?
To get rid of vermin.
To get rid of vermin. Number 1, if I give you this sequence of numbers, it has some significance to you if you're a race driver. 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. What does that mean?
It could be grid positions for a start.
Thank you.
Well, it's time to vote. No consultations as you vote. Please mark your ballots and select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Have you selected your choices?
No.
Everybody? Gene?
Yes, I'm ready.
Everybody?
I'm wrong, but ready.
All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for 3. I voted for number 3.
Looks like you've been in a sheep dip there, old buddy.
No, but I had a 5th at the Firth of Forth.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for 3, too, because I'm part Scotch, and any Scotchman knows that Scots were hay where Wallace bled, so that's why I voted for him.
Oh, boy.
He knew it.
That's number 1.
Oh, but he just knew it, and I just knew it was he. I
Gene Rayburn.
Well, I'm breaking the pattern this time. I voted for number 2. Number 1, excuse me, couldn't give me the firing order of a 6-cylinder internal combustion engine.
Oh, no.
And,
Oh, the pain.
and number 2 gave me a very convincing... He looks to me and sounded as if he were a sheep raiser. Of course, you people could have brought a sheep raiser in here who had never driven a car in his life, but we'll see.
And Kitty Carlisle.
Well, as you can see, I voted for number 1 because I don't know the firing engine of a 6-cylinder, whatever it is. And anyway, he looks reckless, daredevil, tough. Even a little... No. He looks like a racing driver to me.
Well, the votes are all in, and the minds, such as they are made up. Now, let us see which of these 3 gentlemen is the real 1963 Grand Prix champion. Will the real Jim Clark please stand up? Congratulations, Mr. Clark, and good luck with the next 2 races, even though you don't need them.
Thank you.
Number 1, what is your real name? What do you really do? And are you cold in those kilts?
My real name is Paul Glazer. I've never been to Scotland, and I'm employed by the New Zealand Mission to the United Nations, and I'm not cold in the kilts.
Well, he got 1 vote. Number 2, you got 1 vote as well. What is your real name? What do you really do?
My name is Leonard Simmons, and I am employed by the Canadian Consulate in New York City.
What happened to the Scotch accent?
It was a good fake Scotch accent there. Well, there have been 2 incorrect votes, which means a grand total of $500 from Anison. And as well, there is a gift box of the products of this fine company for each of you on the way out. Thanks, and good luck.